I don't know if this is the best analogy. When I have someone drop that line on me, like they'll be usually wearing like their local sports team hat or something. And I'm like, oh, are you on the team? Like, why aren't you at the stadium right now? Like, you're supporting something that you're not a part of and that you're not attending. And I feel like posters are the same way. Just because you don't have a personal connection to that event doesn't mean that you can't appreciate the art or the fact that the event happened.
It's time for another episode of Best of the Tour. This is the show that takes you behind the scenes of your favorite gig posters, tour merch, and the artists who bring it all to life. Let's start the show.
This is episode number 19 of the Best of the Tour podcast. We're entitling this one Tough Stuff, which I'm excited about because I wanted to call it that. And we got consensus amongst all of us, yep. Erica, myself, and our guest today, artist extraordinaire, Lil Tuffy. Tuffy, welcome to the pod.
Thanks.
Yeah, we're really excited. Where we want to kind of start off, because we've recently kind of talked a lot about the Rock Poster Society, and in a similar world, if you're a collector, you also probably are familiar with another nonprofit group called the Poster Institute. And the Poster Institute, it's another really amazing organization that is supporting artists like Tuffy throughout their career, but also are doing really cool events like Flatstock at South by Southwest. So I'm giving a very small introduction because we have, can I call you Mr. President or El Presidente of the Poster Institute? Tuffy, you've been an inaugural founding member of the Poster Institute, vendor at every single event since its inauguration. And we would love to talk a little bit about what is the Poster Institute and what does it do?
It was founded in 2002 by a group of artists that met on gigposters.com. And it was basically formed to facilitate the throwing of Flatstock events. So the first Flatstock was in San Francisco, just a couple blocks from where I'm sitting here, at a building called the Cell Space, which is now condos, like most of San Francisco. So yeah, Frank Kozik, The Firehouse, Jeff Kleinsmith, Jay Ryan, Jeff Pavito, they were all instrumental in starting this and getting this group together. So that was the first gathering of all of these poster artists who mostly just knew each other online or locally. I had done about 4 posters at that point, and I was working at the Firehouse with Ron Donovan and Chuck Sperry. And I lived next door to that space, and I worked at the bar where we threw the after parties. I helped Chuck print some posters for it. So that was like kind of an interesting welcome to that community, like just getting thrown into it right there. And then I started going to Flatstock with my posters at the next event in Austin at South by Southwest and then Bumbershoot. And I've been to almost all of them. There's a few in Europe I've missed and maybe 1 or 2 in the US, but yeah, it's a lot.
What?
San Francisco. Oh, sorry. I was going to jump in. As I say, San Francisco seems to me to be this sort of meeting point of so many artists in the space. It's almost kind of like how grunge has this hub or this sort of center point in Seattle. I feel like, poster artistry, the gig poster game has this sort of like part of its DNA, like part of the fabric of it is San Francisco. Would you agree with that, Tuffy?
Yeah, Bill Graham and the Fillmore and their history of posters, I think, really kind of jump-started the modern day poster movement and moved away from this kind of advertising letterpress type thing you used to see in the 50s and 60s and moved it into this kind of cultural shift of art and integrating that with the music, even though then it would be so weird to see like Chuck Berry with Jefferson Airplane and then have this crazy psychedelic poster and there'd be someone else on the bill that would also be completely unrelated to those two.
Right.
And I think from there, the connection to Austin and a few other spots kind of galvanized that poster industry then. And then I think Chicago, Minneapolis, these other major hubs started growing in the 90s and early 2000s, and now it's a worldwide epidemic.
Nothing like just casually mentioning that you got your start in San Francisco working with Chuck Sperry, right? Like not anything like throwing you just in the deep end of the pool and just starting off, with a poster legend.
Yeah, they would hang out at the bar I was working at, and Alan Forbes and a handful of other people. And we got to talking one day. They saw the poster I did for my birthday, and they're like, "Oh, come by the studio, show us your stuff. We'll show you around." And we had a couple days of hanging out, and they're like, "Well, we're going to go to Europe for a couple months. Here's the keys. Have fun." And they were just
Wow.
incredibly supportive, and I mean, there was just no gatekeeping involved, and it was just a cool experience. I learned so much from them, and I think initially I was trying to mimic their technique, their aesthetic. I was doing, 5 to 8 color posters with multiple metallic overlays and things like that. And it's not exactly what I wanted to do. So there was two things that kind of drove my style back then. One was that I couldn't really afford to get films, so I used a lot of negative space and 2 or 3 color palettes instead of the Firehouse and 8 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
And I used a lot of color paper just to try to make up for the fact that I was just using 2 inks. So it was much easier to do black and white on red paper instead of printing a huge flood of red and black. So it was like monetary restrictions kind of helped develop my aesthetic originally. And after, a couple of years of working with them, I'd see my design influence on them. And it was pretty interesting to see like Ron do a 3 color poster or Chuck do something that was very minimal.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was really lucky to have that experience and to get so much knowledge from them and have the ability to have access to all that equipment, and just the connections I made through them was pretty amazing.
And from there, is that kind of the sort of birthplace, so to speak, of your gig poster work, and then just some art, like individual artwork that you started doing as well?
Yeah, just kind of having free reign. I managed to like land a few clients from my first couple of posters, and so I started working for 3 or 4 venues around town, Bottom of the Hill, Red Devil Lounge. But yeah, I started working for a couple of venues, and one thing led to another, and man, that was just like 2002.
Wow.
And in 2003, I was asked to do the 30th anniversary poster for CBGB's in New York. So that was like a huge honor. I was kind of blown
Holy
away. Like I
smokes.
like barely been doing this for just over a year, and suddenly I'm doing like a landmark event like that. So like the opportunities that I got through that experience really, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for
Yeah.
that
And
catalyst.
for the kids listening out there who may not know what CBGB is,
Yeah.
an unbelievably iconic music venue in New York City that was sort of like, I don't even know how to explain it from when you were a kid in the 90s, and what that meant if you were up in New York City and had the opportunity to go see shows up there, which is just really incredible. So circle a little bit back to kind of Poster Institute and Flatstock. So like we know of the Poster Institute and Flatstock and South by Southwest. It's a really wide catalog of artists who are there, not just gig posters, right? It's like movie posters and independent artwork, and that just seems to be like capturing a lot more of the poster printing industry, so to speak, not just like a narrow focus of like gig posters.
Yeah, I think for the first 20 years, the focus was really on gig posters, and there was like a 70-30 rule for what you would display at Flatstock events.
Okay.
But over the pandemic, there was a group of us, the current board, that were meeting pretty much weekly to discuss things, and we decided it was time for us to really work on growing the Poster Institute, growing Flatstock, because I feel like it was stagnating a bit. Like we were just kind of maintaining the status quo. We weren't really pushing anything forward. There weren't new artists getting involved, and long-term veteran artists were moving on to other things, bigger things. So we really wanted to reach out, try to bring in new art, bring in a next generation of artists to participate in this, and really try to do some outreach. So we nixed the gig poster rule, and now we're still trying to define what a poster is.
Yeah.
But we're still very committed to the DIY aspect of it, to screen printing. And even that's kind of expanding a little bit. There's reso creeping in and other print methods. But we're really trying to move the Poster Institute into something that produces more events besides Flatstock, smaller gallery style events, non-gig poster things. We're trying to talk to film festivals, other festivals that aren't just music, to increase our audience, to increase the artists that we work with, and eventually move into working with universities, educational things, museum, cultural centers. So it's a pretty big endeavor, and there's only 5 or 6 of us working on this, and we also have our jobs doing posters and freelance design and stuff like that. So, but I'm really focusing on trying to do that in the next couple of years. We've partnered with a marketing agency to try to grow partnerships and sponsorships. We just did a deal with Speedball for our members to get ink deals. And we're working on more stuff like that, paper companies and hopefully giant corporate sponsors that will help underwrite our events, make the cost of entry for our artists less burdensome. So yeah, it's a lot to do.
That's awesome. I think, ours are gig posters, but we also have been supporting artists in different ways with like an art drop or something like that. Maybe it's an image from a poster that we liked, but we didn't go to that show, or we don't know that band. And I love when artists kind of take that and can do sort of the art print from it. And I love that idea to be able to say, hey, here's an event that can bring in people maybe who aren't gig poster people, but they're art collectors, or vice versa, and give them a little bit more awareness. So what's a great way just to support the Poster Institute? If they're just like, regular Mike and Erica's down the street, is there like, can we become members, or is it just attending the events? Like, what's the best way to support the Poster Institute?
Yeah, you can become a member. There's a supporter option. That's great. We have a few people that are non-artists that are part of that. Going to the events, buying stuff from the artists, all that stuff is great. We're always open to people that have new event opportunities for us to explore, new festivals, things like that, art markets. That's all great.
Color Haiku is back. Southern California's one-day marketplace for gig poster art, print culture, and the artists behind the work. This returns for its 4th year in a row, presented by Invisible Industries and hosted once again at GABA Gallery in the heart of Los Angeles. This is where the online obsession becomes real life. Go find top band posters for sale. You'll meet the artists who create the work face to face. Color Haiku brings together established voices and emerging artists from across the region and beyond. A community that shows up to support independent artists, creative culture. If you've ever felt that rush at a show, if you've ever chased a limited edition poster drop online, this is where it all comes together. It's one day only, so don't miss it. This is Color Haiku. Find the details at colorhaiku.com.
You mentioned something that we actually hear a lot. Like, I wasn't at the show, so I didn't buy that poster. We hear that a lot, like every day when we're at Flatstock. And it's a funny, when I first started collecting posters, it was all stuff that I hadn't been to. I was collecting Mike King, Firehouse, Kozik, Art Chantry, and all because I just like the bands, I like the images, and it didn't really matter to me that I wasn't at the show. And then when I moved to San Francisco, there would be posters at the show, Alan Forbes or someone else, and I started buying the posters, still not realizing this was even something I could do myself. But I don't know if this is the best analogy. When I have someone drop that line on me, like they'll be usually wearing like their local sports team hat or something, and I'm like, oh, are you on the team? Like, why are you at the stadium right now? Like, you're supporting something that you're not a part of and that you're not attending. And I feel like posters are the same way. Just because you don't have a personal connection to that event doesn't mean that you can't appreciate the art or the fact that the event happened.
I totally agree, by the way, for the record.
Yeah.
Part of what Erica does when she says things like that, it's like a governor that she's built over time and like telling me things like, well, but we didn't go to that show, or we don't collect band X, but it's like when you see an artist that you do collect with, a lot of our collection comes from Dave Matthews Band, which is kind of where gig posters started for me as a hobby. And through that pursuit, I've found a number of different artists whom I love their work. And then they'll drop a band poster, and I just love the image so much, but it's not a band we necessarily listen to or follow.
Yeah.
And so, Erica for a long time,
our
would say
rule.
things like, we don't collect posters from that band. And over time, Tuffy, I'll tell you, like it's eroded away. We were just down in Atlanta. I bought my first 311 poster, because 311 was a band I always had an affinity for since college, really. Just, kind of loved the music, throw it on, was always in the mix. Just never caught a show, just for whatever reason, was never there. Never had the opportunity to roll up to the 311 merch booth. But there was this one that Bourbon Sunday did, and it was this sort of, alien, like a gray kind of, the gray, the type of alien. And it's got all these like poker themes in it, because I think it was a Lake Tahoe or Reno show or something. Anyway, it's fun.
Long story short, we own it. And we have become incredibly lax in our rules.
Right. But there are people out there with the rules that are very strict. Like, even if it's the band they follow, and even if it's an artist they love, like you said, if they weren't at that show, their rule is,
I won't buy it.
They don't buy it. And I've always been like, man,
you're missing out.
You're causing yourself a world of hurt. It's just, life's too short. Just buy the poster.
That's right.
Figure it out later. No room on the wall. That's okay. Just buy the poster and figure it out later.
Yeah, I've had a few instances where people are like, I don't know who this band is. I don't know what they sound like. And I'm like, well, you have a phone in your hand. Look it up, give it a listen. And I've had them buy it. I think the first time that happened, I was in Germany at a Flatstock there. Yeah. And a guy came by. He's like, I really love this poster, but I don't know who they are. I'm like, oh, it's like a rockabilly swing band type thing. And he bought the poster and then came back the next day. He's like, I went home and I listened to this band and I love it. I'm so happy that I bought this. Like, I've been listening to this band all night and all day. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm glad it worked out. So,
that's awesome.
Exactly.
And that's the magic.
It's a huge entry point for, I kind of feel like growing up, if I've ever grown up, I've been a lifelong comic book reader. I don't even necessarily call myself a comic book collector, because it was never really about, I need the 9.8 graded Superman 301. It was like compelling stories, compelling artwork. That's what drove me to things. And there were artists who I really liked what they did, like in X-Men. And then that drove me to go find other projects they've done, and then read a new title that I'd never read before. And it does. It really opens your world up to something you hadn't experienced before. And I think the gig poster scene does that for music too. We joke around the house. There was a time, and if you listen to the podcast, we'll drop names of all kinds of bands, but sometimes it's bands that we listen to frequently. And one of them now these days is a band called Goose. And there was a period of time where neither one of us listened to Goose. And we had artwork from one of our, most probably collected artists in our portfolio, Miles Sang, and he did these sort of a diptych up at these shows in Connecticut. And I saw these posters drop, and I was like, they're incredible. And we had the conversation this is years ago, and it was like, we don't collect Goose posters, so we held off. And then separately, Erica got introduced to Goose and started listening to the music, and we kind of fell in love with that band. And then I was like, so we can collect Goose posters now, right? Kind of thing. But that was my entry point. It was the first place I heard of the band was through seeing artists do shows for them. And I was like, what's with this Goose band?
Yeah, I did a poster for them maybe 2 years ago through a promoter. Mm-hmm. And it was really interesting getting feedback. Like, I think originally I tried to do something that was a bit cliche for them, like some imagery that's just used over and over for jam bands and stuff like that. And instead I shifted gears and I just did a super vibrating op art type thing. And as soon as I posted, I was getting comments and messages like, "Oh man, thanks for not doing the usual thing. Like this is so different, still
Yeah.
appropriate and still cool." And I didn't even think about it. And I know that that genre can be a little harsh with their criticisms and judgments sometimes.
No.
I usually stay off like, Reddit and Discords and Facebook groups that are dedicated to certain bands because
Absolutely.
I've seen some terrible things said about friends of mine about their artwork, and I'm like,
Right.
what? Where is this coming from?
Steer clear of the brutality and the negativity that is the internet comment section.
Right.
But that also kind of brings to what we were talking about earlier with the Fillmore and the psychedelic movement and posters and how the imagery didn't always kind of fit the music. I think nowadays you can judge a book by its cover. At least as far as I'm concerned, the way I approach it, I try to pick a style and pick imagery that's relevant to the band and what they're about. So I hope, when someone sees a poster I've done, they understand that that's a hardcore band, or they look at something like, oh, that's a singer-songwriter, whatever it is. I think that's something that's changed a lot over the last 25 years from there's still artists that have their signature style and do that. Chuck Berry is a huge example of that. Like what he does it's automatically a Chuck Berry poster, but it's usually relevant to what the band is as well.
Yeah.
But I think you see less and less of an artist just doing their thing regardless of who the band is, and people making conscious efforts to do something that's relevant to that. And I think it's been a very interesting change. And there's a few bands that eschew that pattern, like the Melvins. You can pretty much do whatever you want for them. And there's a few other bands that have that vibe too. And you can do something totally different. But yeah, I work in so many different genres now. Like I do a lot of EDM, and then the same day I have to do a hardcore show. And so, yeah, I'm always like shifting gears and making sure that I'm doing something that's appropriate and would appeal to the crowd as well.
Is it like creative whiplash? Like 1 minute, like you said, you're doing EDM, the next minute it's hardcore. Are you listening to the sound, like the music while you're creating, or have your like zone music regardless of the art, regardless of the artist that you're creating for?
I will listen to it just to make sure that I'm, in the right direction. Sometimes it doesn't really appeal to me, and I'll switch into my usual ambient drone stuff that I put on in the background when I'm trying to think. But yeah, I mean, this week I had it, like I worked on a couple Strokes posters, but I also worked on this EDM DJ from San Diego called ISOXO, and it's just completely different, styles. So doing kind of like a modernism rock thing for the Strokes, and then switching to brutalism rave type flyer for them. I can't remember. I have to do like an art show poster today, and but there's weeks where I'm just working like all over the boards. R&B, it's rock, it's country, it's EDM, it's metal. And sometimes it's like, okay, I need to go for a walk and do a little bit of a cleanse before I sit down and start the next project.
Yeah, so, that's what I was thinking of.
Little lemon sorbet of the brain, like, right?
Yeah.
At some point. But what you said hits home with me too, because it is that sort of delicate balance between, like you said, sort of appropriate or, almost iconography or tropes that bands typically love. Like Grateful Dead, I think of like fair amount of skeletons, right? And then they also had the teddy bears and all their different logos and things like that. But I always find it really refreshing, whether it resonates with me or not, like whether it's one that just, man, that just gave me all the feels of a concert poster that is like, yes, I need to have that. Or if it's one pass, either way, if it's a fresh approach, if it's something, new and different that isn't necessarily of those icons you've seen before. I always love that. I love seeing something brand new at the merch booth or in the online drop.
Yeah.
Just kind of refreshing.
Sometimes it takes me a minute to marinate on things, like if it's not something I'm familiar with. But that's what I love about the art is just like we can bring it home, and we put them. You've probably heard me say this multiple times on the podcast. We put our artwork up on the walls because we love it. We buy it to display it. Now we have a lot in a few portfolios as well. But what we actually started doing a few years ago is doing like rotations. So like,
Yeah, that's what I do as well. Yeah.
bringing things in and out of the portfolio, putting them in spaces and rooms that, you know, when we go into, it's like, oh yeah, that's such a cool print. Or
It makes your whole house feel differently, at least for us. It's like, refreshes the space.
Yes.
And it gives you that opportunity to not just flip through the portfolio, but sort of, share the precious real estate that exists
some
on the
people
walls.
decorate their homes for like seasons, they'll put their, holiday tchotchkes out. We rotate posters.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I recommend people do. Like, oh, I already have too many posters. I'm like, oh, like change them out every few months and have like a cheese function, invite some people over, show off your new work in your house. And yeah, it keeps things fresh, keeps things new.
Have your own home gallery shows.
Well, and I think
Exactly.
it's like, if you're a hobbyist, if you're in the game to collect for your, personal enjoyment, you probably have a lot of favorites, right? Like I have a lot of, it's like try to pick your favorite child. You can't do it. You love them all equally. But you probably have a lot of favorites in your poster collection. And then there are still ones that you're chasing, and there are brand new ones that come out that you love even more. And so it's a necessity. You have to make room, have to have that kind of flexibility to portfolio some, swap them out. I think it's a healthy thing. It's fun too.
That's another question I encounter a lot is like, what's my favorite poster I've done? And I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
man, I'm like, I don't know, probably whatever I finished today. Like, we're sitting here in my studio, so I have my own posters up just for storage purposes, but I don't have any of my own artwork hanging in my house. And, but yeah, I just like, I don't have a favorite poster of mine. I'm not really, I mean, I guess I'm kind of designing for myself, but it's not like I'm never designing for something that I want to put in my own home.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how to explain that, but I'm like, my favorite one is whichever one you want to buy. That's fine.
If you're like me and Erica, you love passing out stickers while attending concerts with friends, making new friends. Where do you get these stickers? Look no further than stickerrobot.com. They are renowned for the highest quality sticker printing on the planet, world famous, custom outdoor silkscreen sticker printing, free US shipping, and we have a promo for you. If you visit stickerrobot.com/invisible, you will receive 10% off your next high quality screen printed sticker order. So act fast.
Going right now.
Right now.
Right now. And also, thanks to our friends over at the Rock Poster Society. If you don't know TRPS, they are a nonprofit behind the world's longest-running rock poster collection shows. That includes the Festival of Rock Posters in San Francisco, which is a bucket list thing for Mike and I to go to. They have been championing the art of poster for decades. They support both the artists and those people who collect them and preserve them. If you want to get involved, go over to trps.org if you want to become a member and check out their upcoming events.
Check them out. I know Erica had one that you wanted to talk about on your points.
Yes.
And I had one in sort of reviewing some of your posts and Instagram. There was one, let me get it right. This was about October of 25 that you posted this. And it says the client was Goldenvoice. Is that right?
Yeah.
And it's a horizontal piece, 18 by 24. It says 2 colors, which kind of blew my mind. And then I looked at it closely. I was like, it really is only 2 colors. But it's these 4. I'm particular to like poker playing and casino card game posters. I love that. And this had like the depiction of 4 ladies being the 4 queens. And
the beaches. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a stellar piece.
Thanks.
Yeah, one of the things we like to do is kind of just take a look at a piece of artwork that we maybe have not been exposed to and do like a little mini deep dive on it. And Mike had shared this with me earlier before the podcast, and it's fun. It's whimsical, but it has like nostalgia that just feels like you're at your grandparents' house and you go to the bathroom and like they have the magazines on the back of this is what my grandparents had, like Fort Lauderdale, back in like the 80s, and you go
old school Florida.
You go like old school Florida, but it just has this like it's nostalgic and fresh at the same time, which I was fighting with, and like how my brain was like, it feels so familiar yet it's so new to me.
Yeah, and I mean, if you haven't listened to them yet, they're a pretty straightforward rock band, and they're pretty irreverent. They're, you know, four attractive young women making rock and roll music and making fart jokes and things like that. So,
That's awesome.
Fantastic. I'm
yeah,
pulling them up on
so
the playlist.
I just saw them last week, and it was a great show.
It's what we were talking about just right before. I mean, the seeing this now, I'm like, okay, now I kind of want to listen to them, right? Like,
Yeah.
and this is that magic between art and music and how it just all has this interplay between the two.
Yeah.
That I think one can't exist without the other and vice versa, right? I think that going to the show, you get your energy download, you get your music, and you get that moment that no one else ever has. That moment will never happen in the way that it happened at that moment in time. And then you have the artwork that then is at home and on your walls, and you look at it and you're like, I remember that moment that happened that will never happen again in that moment of time. It's like magic music.
The memento of it.
Yeah. But it's just such a fun piece. And like Mike said, like I look at it, I don't see two colors, even though I know it's pink and red on a white paper.
Yeah.
Like the magic of your screen printing technique is just quite impressive.
Yeah, and I love the opportunity to not use black. It's, red has the same kind of value. Your eye sees it the same way it sees black. So when you see a red and black poster, I mean, just like the one sitting above me,
Yeah.
the ability to use different coloring, whether it's a dark blue or a dark red or purple instead of black is really cool. Or my favorite is use gold instead of black.
Oh, interesting.
And a lot of there's a couple of jam band artists that do that occasionally, and it just gives it a really cool, different feel to it. It has this kind of Gilded Age quality to it. But yeah, I mean, and that's part of like the test print process too. When we're just not paying attention to what we're doing and just putting ink on paper randomly, and then you pick it up a week or a month later and you're like, oh, that's interesting. Like I never even thought about overprinting that color over that color and seeing what these colors look like together and how, different blues over a yellow can make different values. And so it's always like a learning process. A lot of it's by accident and you never know what's happening.
And I noticed on your shop, you do have a lot of test prints that you'll pop up there, which are really for us to buy, which is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's capturing that like creative process in the moment and then looking at it from that test print to then the final product. And you're like, whoa, it's either totally different than what the final product is, or that's where it like ends up being.
Yeah, and there's rarely anything deliberate in that process. Maybe every once in a while I'll take something sideways just to like make sure that's not on the test print, but yesterday I printed like fluorescent yellow over a red and electric blue, and I'm like, whoa, that looks pretty wild. Like I got to remember to try that down the road somewhere. But yeah, the test prints, it's kind of funny. Like every once in a while, I'll ask a client to like send me some examples of my work that they want me to keep in mind when I do their project, and they'll send me a bunch of my test prints, and I'm like, wonderful. That's totally irreproducible. Like I don't know how I could possibly do this, and
Oh my God.
like that's 32 colors.
Right. Right.
But I like all of them. So
Yeah.
yes. That's wild to even think about it from. Do you write down like when you have that moment of like, oh, I should try this again some point? Do you have like a notepad in the printing studio that you're like, try this later on down the road, or did this looks cool?
Nope. There's just a pile of test prints on the floor that my dog sometimes lays on.
Nice. Well, the other one that I wanted to take a look at, because, same kind of thing, like it's the things that stick out to us. So you have one from the Wu-Tang Clan, which is it's just badass. Like I just can't even think of it. It's from June of 2024. Run the Jewels, I think was the tour.
Oh, yeah.
It's got this like Kill Bill, like super samurai, like I said, like
It's a very cinematic
piece that, it's just, I love again, another like band from our era, our generation that I think is still kicking ass and doing amazing things nowadays. But there is, again, that nostalgia. And this poster had that moment where I was like, it's really dark too. It's this midnight. I looked at it as the timing, like, could it be a sun? Is it a moon? I looked at it and I was like, it's a moon. It's like this samurai, training in the middle of the night. And then, like, I have this moment where I was like, if this was a movie, he'd be training, and then all of a sudden, like, the Ninja Clan would be coming in from behind that building, and, like, there'd be an epic, like, battle of this, like, dark versus light warrior world.
Sounds like a fantastic film. I would absolutely watch it. No
Yeah, I mean, Wu-Tang Clan has such a variety of deep imagery that you can draw inspiration from. So, like, the Kung Fu movies, I've had a pretty big connection to those. I used to love watching those when I was in college. So yeah, I really wanted this kind of cinematic feel to that. We printed it on black paper. Yeah. I don't know why I said we, it's me. But yeah, and that's another fun thing, like printing on black paper and building up colors that way and doing overprinting that way is another fun thing to do. But yeah, I was really stoked to do that poster. I was really happy with the way that turned out. Yeah. That was my favorite that week.
that was the favorite for the week. Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, and that's also really cool because we don't see a lot of I notice paper now more than I ever did. Like, we would get a poster at the show and we would roll it up, put it in our tube, go home, roll it out, put it in a frame. Cool. Very cool. Now it's like, if we get something that's on a unique piece of paper, it's like, this is so cool. I remember we got one that was on green. It was like a forest hunter green paper.
Oh yeah, nice.
And Aaron von Freder, it was a piece of art, and he had used like gold and black.
I was just gonna say, gold ink on forest green looks amazing.
Yeah. It was like, and the depth that the screen print, like, I don't know, maybe you want to talk a little to this because I don't know anything about screen printing, but it had depth to it on that paper.
Layers, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you print a metallic ink, you have to use a much more porous screen so you can get those little tiny metal flakes to go through the screen and adhere to the paper. So when you print that much ink on the paper, you get a solid texture. Like, you can, it's a tactile feel when you rub your fingers over it. So yeah, there's different techniques of how much ink you're putting down on the paper. When you're doing, very detailed stuff, you have to use very tiny holes so you don't get too much ink to spread out underneath. But yeah, it's always interesting watching kids come up to the table and start touching, and their parents like, don't touch that. I'm like, no, it's cool. You can touch that. Like, you can feel the artwork on it too.
Yeah. I love that about print collecting, because so many things nowadays are like digital and online. And my favorite thing is when we see something online, but then you see it in real life, and you're like, oh, that's actually totally different. Yep. Like, the way that our eyes read the digital, and then you go to the RGB, like, of the actual paper. That's a fun, like, that's the fun moment for me at the merch table.
Yeah, there have been so many times where I've seen the image either ahead of the show while we're getting ready to walk in, or we weren't at the show and all that we saw was an online image. Either way, acquire the actual piece, and then it's like, it's shocking, the difference that it can make, that tactile in hand feel. And it's a small thing, but you get it, at least we get it so sort of like infrequently. We roll it out, right? You flatten it, you get ready to frame it. And even if it's like the coolest feeling paper in the world, then it's in the frame, and it's like, but at least, it's burned in my brain. I had that moment with it, where it was like, you got to experience, the weight of this paper is different than I thought it was going to be. Or, it's got a
sheen,
almost a sheen or a fabric to it, or whatnot, a pearlescent to it, cool. Which are very cool. Yeah. I can go on and on. I'm a big fan of shiny things. I love the foils. I love the different types of foils. Although I know there's a lot of foil out there. I think what you're doing here, Tuffy, with the different color paper, that's almost like we need more of that. I don't know how to say it, that it's like under under ordered, underrated,
Yeah.
under the radar, but more of this like multi paper color thing, because that's a really that's a distinguishing kind of factor in the collection, I think.
Yeah, and I like to use Astro Bright, so you have these like bright fluorescent colors and things like that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have this discussion a lot, especially around foil. And I think, it works out best when there's intention behind it and you're designing for whatever that substrate is instead of just using foil for foil's sake or to create scarcity or a variant or whatever it is.
Yep.
But I think when I just saw a poster this morning and I don't remember who did it, but it's a Jeff Tweedy poster and it's on foil and there's some mountains in the foreground and then the foil creates this like aurora borealis effect.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's like a great idea, a great use of foil.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think, Nakatomi did like a Daft Punk poster, and
Yep.
all the inks covering everything except for the helmets.
Helmets, yeah.
Shiny.
And and I think again, that's just like a great use of it. But like a lot of times you see like they just take a color out and just print it on foil, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like things that are white don't always translate. Like eyeballs don't always work when it's a foil thing or something. But yeah, whenever someone gives it a lot of thought, I think it can be a really effective technique.
There are certain posters that we'll get, as Mike said, like shiny things.
Yeah.
So it's very infrequent that we get up to the merch booth or we're, doing an AP drop for an artist and we're not going to get the foil variant.
If we can.
If we can.
Yeah.
But sometimes we've gone up to the merch stand and we've looked at the two and we're like,
time to buy both because there's a limited window of time to make that decision.
What happens. That is true.
But to Erica's point, it's like sometimes maybe it didn't translate as well onto the foil, right? And so you're kind of chasing the foil just for the sake of, well, it's shiny, it's a lower run, it's a variant, et cetera. But I maybe really happen to like the piece just on paper, right? Just on the original sort of how it was meant to be.
Right.
I have a feeling you'll probably be seeing a lot more foil soon. A lot of us just tested an ink additive from Speedball, so we can use Speedball ink on foil. Ooh. And I think they're just about to release that to the consumers. And I tested it with multiple different inks and different ink brands and different ratios, and it worked really well. And I just finished 3 trips in a row, and I had a couple of those foils in my portfolio case, so they're being rubbed around, taken in and out, and they held up really well. It didn't scratch off, it didn't degrade. So I'm really looking forward to using more of that, and I'll probably start using foil more in just a regular run.
Yeah.
So that'll be cool. They also are releasing these crazy iridescent inks that if you print the same color on white or black paper, it comes out a different color.
Oh, wow.
So I'm really looking forward to experimenting with that and seeing how that works over printing other inks. I have a feeling that'll be a game changer as well.
Like weird science of poster printing.
So then you could have basically the one piece and run it with the same ink, but on different papers and have it look like be a color variant.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well,
so on white paper, it looks like blue pearlescent, and on black paper, it looks yellow pearlescent.
Yeah. Sign me up. I'm ready for that.
I would take one of each, please.
I'm ready for that. I think that sounds amazing. And it would be nice to do that on different color paper. Give maybe the foil a little bit of a rest, but it sounds like more foil is coming down the pike because there's a little bit more longevity to it. Don't have to worry as much about maybe which way you roll it or things like that.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, it was cool. The Speedball's chemist was at Flatstock in Austin last month, and it was just cool talking to him about stuff they were working on, and it was awesome to have someone like actually take an interest in what we want and what we're doing. So it's cool that they're so in touch with the poster community and working with us.
I mean, that to me just says like they want to create things that you guys can utilize to create art in ways that have not been able to be done before. and from our side, like that just means cool shit that we don't know is going to happen. So like you've heard it first on the Best of the Tour podcast. Tuffy is sharing some cool science stuff with us right now that will impact the art that we see going forward. So, but that's really cool. Well, I want to just pivot a little bit, and like, if you're listening with kids in the room, maybe you wouldn't be, but maybe you are. This is going to be slightly explicit of an episode, not because we're mad or not because we're expletive,
describing,
but we're going to describe some cool patches that Tuffy has been doing, and I want to pause because I literally in this moment have a jean jacket that I bought off of eBay, like a vintage jean jacket, and I've been collecting patches as another form of cool merch, and from artists and like people that we go to like these, shakedown streets, because they're like pocket posters, but that like wearable little art pieces. So literally the last 2 days, Mike can say this, I have been iron-onning and hand stitching patches onto this jacket. And it's really timely because I said to Mike, I was like, hold up, I'm going to have to get some new patches because you have some really cool fucking patches. I'm just going to say, like,
earmuffs for the kids. Now you can say whatever you want. Now it's, but it's, for the listeners, liltuffy.com. So that's LIL-Tuffy, TUFFY.com. And you'll bring up Tuffy's page, and there's a section for, there's gig posters, there's merch, there's a whole patches section. So talk to us about the patches, Tuffy.
My sense of time is a little warped now. The pandemic has kind of screwed up my memory by that stuff. But my guess is like 12 or 15 years ago, patches kind of had their renaissance, and it became a very big thing. There was a patch game, Instagram, things like that. And I got a few patches from a friend of mine in England. And then I was like, well, I could make some patches. And at the time, like bicycle culture was very big here. And I was working with a couple different bicycle companies and apparel companies. So I think the first couple of patches I did were bicycle themed and fixed gear. And I'd done some art prints as well. And I kind of adapted those things back and forth. But I also wanted to make stuff that was a little more accessible for my merch table that, wasn't $25, $40, whatever. It was just $5 or $10. And patches were an easy way to do that. So, I don't know. I think I have like 15 different patch designs currently. And I think they reflect a little bit more of my personality and sense of humor that I don't always get to put into my posters. And I think they work better as like a small consumable than as a piece of art. I mean, I do have things that are just words on my wall, but I don't know. I just feel like they work better on a jean jacket or something like that. So.
Well, we, if you go back, I think 1 or 2 episodes to Lara from Subterranean Prints, she comes from punk culture. And we talked a little bit about these real DIY mishmash vests and how like just kind of rough they were, but you'd be putting patches on from like the punk shows that you went to, and you'd wear your vest. And I've, like I said, just as going to shows and meeting people and getting things here and there, like patches and pins have both been things that have been really fun to collect from the artists that I love. Like, and so now I'm stitching, ironing them on, and then I'm hand stitching them on. And there's something very tactile about it, but like, I don't think we have that resolution these days of like, I've created something. Like, I know I'm not making it, but like, I'm taking my time. I'm not doom scrolling. I am listening to music, and then I'm stitching the patch. And it's very similar feeling to that remembering of. But now there's this exposure. When I went to look at your page, I was like, I love that one. Tough love, tough shit. I don't know shit about fuck.
That was my favorite.
That's my favorite one. I think you're going to see an order come through for me very, very soon. It ain't pretty being easy. Like, it's just, they're really fun. There's one that says bullshit. Sorry, not sorry. Like, they're really fun. But I think about it like, I'm going to put some of those patches on my jean jacket, and I'm going to be wearing them to a show or wearing them out. And I get to have a conversation about it, be like, what is that one over there? I'm like, let me tell you about Lil Tuffy, because this is so cool, right? And it's just another way to engage with people that's offline. You know, Mike and I love going to music. We love going to live music. Neither one of us are big like filmers or pictures during the show just because we're usually in it. I am so grateful though for our friends and people that we know and people online who are really great cinematographers about it. Cause I'll be, you know, in the show and then like a day or two later, I'll see that song come up on Instagram and be like, that happened, you know? So this is just another way to pull us back in. Do you find that you're going to keep creating these patches? Do you have other ideas down the road that you want to add to your shop? Or is it just, this is a cool idea, I'm going to throw it on a patch, let's go?
Yeah, sometimes the mood hits. I'm probably gonna, a few of them have been switched over to stickers and vice versa, and people keep asking me for various ones on whatever the other media that doesn't exist. But yeah, there'll probably be like a It Ain't Pretty Being Easy patch soon. And I put the Cunt in Country. That one was very popular. So that's probably going to be a patch soon.
Incredible.
But yeah, and that was, I mean, a lot of that was also like pandemic boredom, you know, and like I wasn't going out, I wasn't doing anything, I wasn't doing any work. And it's rare that like I miss doing work. Like if I was independently wealthy, I don't know if I would do this anymore. But during the pandemic, it's like, God, I haven't done anything. I've had like no creative outlet. Like, all right, I'm going to start doing some stickers as well. And I think originally I was also trying to find a way to create another income stream by doing wholesale to shops. And that's still the goal, but that's just like another job that I don't have time to do. And hopefully in the future I'll figure that out. But you know, this is the week that I have to be my own accountant. I still have to do my real work. I'm trying to curate a show for the Poster Institute and, you know, do a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, someday.
Well, I think it's really fun because there's a cool store here. We live in Raleigh, North Carolina, and there's a store called Edge of Urge, and they have like really cool alt stuff. Like it's clothing, it's tchotchkes, it's really great. I was like, I could so see all of your patches being in there. But also the couple stickers that stood out to me was you have your Swift Kelsey 2024 sticker. Our daughter's a big Swiftie. So like knew immediately going to have to get that one. But then Mike and I, as a way to have some sort of comfort show, we watched The Office. And so you're Pam of like, I feel God in this Chili's tonight.
I laughed so loud out loud.
It is fantastic because again, I think oftentimes like looking for something that makes you feel comfortable, nostalgic, but fresh, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I would ever envision Pam Beasley's face on a bumper sticker, like from that moment of the, is that from the Dundies? Is that when
I think so.
they were, So it's just they're really super fun. And I like the idea for us, like if we go to an artist page, oftentimes I'm throwing in little extras like, oh yeah, I like that sticker. I like that pin. And I'm like, you're shipping it to me anyways. Let's just throw it in the tube.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're looking, if you're listening out, you know, into the world here, where's the best place that, you know, listeners and fans of yours can find your work? If they're already a fan, they probably already are, you know, on the speed dial with you, but.
Yeah, my Instagram and my website are pretty much the exclusive places to get my stuff.
Easy.
If you're in Bend, Oregon, there's a frame shop called Cool Frames, and he carries most of my posters.
Ooh.
But that's about it at the moment. I don't have any other
Very cool.
Any other retail outlets.
Good. We make it easy to shop. Anything that, you know, you can share, any like Flatstock or Poster Institute shows that you'll be at coming up, or anything that you can sizzle tease that's coming up?
Yeah. I'll be at Kilby Block Party in May. We have Designer Con in Vegas in November, and I think we're going to put together a small one for the Pasadena show in June.
Very cool.
Corona Capital in Mexico City in November. And then I'm working on a small protest poster theme show in San Francisco. Hopefully that'll be mid-May.
Very cool.
So we're just working the details out on that. We have a project going, like a book of all Flatstock posters from the last 10 or so years.
Oh,
So yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of small projects. I'm on track to do over 100 posters again this year. So
holy smokes, man. Like, kudos, but also how? Like,
yeah,
that's incredible.
One every
it's
3
starting
days.
to hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned Goldenvoice earlier. That's probably who I do the most posters for, and I think I've been working with them for about 12 years, and I'm going to hit my 400th poster for them in probably 2 weeks.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
Do they send you like a little like award or a star? Like, hey, way to go, Tuffy! Thanks for being our
Number 400.
number one, number 400.
I'll probably get like a drink ticket.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
For the show, at the show that you're going to go to. That sounds like a win.
Yeah.
Well, Tuffy, this was so awesome to get to connect today. I'm super excited to see the next 100 that you've got coming out in 2026. And if you are in any of the areas that he mentioned, to go check out some of the shows, some of the events, we're going to put up some, details on the show notes. So if you want to check out Lil Tuffy on Instagram, his website, the Poster Institute, Flatstock, we'll get you covered. We'll find a place, all the things. But thank you so much for joining Best of the Tour. We're really just thrilled to have this really cool conversation with you today, and can't wait to see what's coming next for you.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks for listening, y'all. Best of the Tour is presented by Invisible Industries. Find us at www.bestofthettour.com and on all major streaming platforms, including Spotify and Apple Music. You can also catch Erica and Mike on their other podcast, Posters in Every Direction, streaming wherever you stream your podcasts from. A big thanks for listening, and we will talk to you next time.